Welcome back to Canuck Air. What I have here is something that really needs no introduction. It is something we've all known and seen over the years. Everybody's had one, right? Well, I'd be a bit facetious saying everybody knows this gun, but it does seem to me that if I talk to anybody who's had more than one air gun, this is the other one they've had. This is a Crosman 357-6, which is the one with the 6-inch barrel, although you could always buy extra barrels, this one being the 4-inch version, and it fits nicely in the box, but it wouldn't have come with it originally. But it did come with a spare cylinder. So you can quickly reload and shoot away those Crosman pellets and deplete your CO2 cartridges quicker than ever before. And that might have been part of it, but I think there's some good reasons why Crosman replaced their older revolver, the 38T. We'll hide that away and talk about it some other day. Not quite ready for that one yet. But here, this is the one that replaced the 38T. Came out in 1983, was around in this form until 1997. So, yeah, it seems to me there was just everybody had one at some point or another. I need known some people that they use them so much they cracked and broke and they never got them working again, so they just scrapped them and bought another one. This one, the box actually, original box says it was $89.97 when it was new. That seems a bit more than I remember, but maybe that was a regular price and they frequently went on sale. It might be what I remember most. The 357, however, is designed to resemble very much a Colt Python, a premium target revolver that was introduced in the mid-1950s. Very accurate, very high quality gun made by Colt. Distinctive for having a ventilated rib above the barrel. And yeah, excellent fit and finish on them. Not quite what we have here, but again, you couldn't buy a Colt Python for $89.97. This one had break open loading, which is kind of a handy feature. You could quickly drop in a fresh cylinder and keep shooting away and deplete your pellets and deplete your CO2 quicker than ever before. But I think also that was very much a safety feature as well that we probably don't fully recognize. This gun does have a safety on the back here, a crossbolt type safety. Pressed in like that, it blocks the hammer completely. There's no way the gun can fire with that set. Push that and then you're ready to go again. But also, by being able to break it open, you could check whether the gun was loaded or not. You could also check for any obstructions in the barrel, something you couldn't do with the earlier model, the 38T. So even though people love that one, this is the one that replaced it, and probably for some fairly sound reasons at the time. The CO2, of course, is held in the grip here. You kind of need a cylinder, empty or not, to hold the grip on, otherwise it just falls off. I kind of hate that feature, but that's the way it goes. As I say, there were other barrel lengths. There was the 4-inch barrel. There was also available an 8-inch barrel. This one is actually metal, a metal casting on the sides of it, whereas the other ones are plastic here. I'm not sure if the early models of this gun were all metal barreled or not. These ones appear to have been made in, well, 83 and 86, so I think probably that's where they originally came. But the reason it's here today is the seal on here, the main seal that seals the CO2 cartridge when you tighten it in there, is shot. I've already taken it out, and that's what it looks like. You can see it's pretty well hardened. There's a bit of a crack in there. It's had its day. Time to replace it with something newer. These are replacement seals, brand new from Crosman. And we need to pull that valve out of there and replace it. The valve looks like this piece. Oh, I seem to have lost it. Unscrewed it. Yeah, the valve. This seal will go in there like that, and hopefully be pliable and yet strong enough to hold back all those pounds pressure of CO2 that are behind that. So there we go. It should be a fairly short, straightforward video. The only thing I may need to do is to replace these two little gaskets right here and here. probably don't need to, but since I was making an order anyway, and this was fairly expensive. All this stuff here cost me $36. But if it fixes 3 or 4 revolvers, that's actually not so bad. It's just that seems a lot for just a tiny amount of little bits of rubber. But anyway, we'll pull it apart and find out what we can. Okay, so we're going to get inside here. Don't really need too many fancy tools for this. Straightforward screwdrivers pretty much take apart everything we need. And there aren't that many things to worry about. Remove that screw and this screw. These two are identical as far as I know. Yeah, they are. Let's say the cylinder is empty. Just need to drop that out of there. There we go. And this screw here is a bit longer. And this one is the one that retains the barrel. And that's how you swap barrels on a Crosman 357. Easy peasy. Now this is a little harder in that you have to pop this out and not lose anything. If we're lucky, the safety stays on the back of that plate there. And we have this here. There we go. You can see the trigger on this thing is kind of interesting and a bit more complicated than you might think. It does mimic some older revolvers pretty well. As you cock it here like that, you can see this bar right here rises up and goes in between the hammer and the valve. So when you pull the trigger, the hammer comes forward and hits that bar and pushes it into the valve. If you let go of the trigger at any moment, that bar drops down and the hammer hits harmlessly on the frame. So the gun can't fire unless the trigger is all the way back, which is a feature you see in actual firearm revolvers. The other stuff, of course, is simpler. There's a plastic plate in here and a plastic ratchet to lift the little stubby little cylinder around. But the part we're after is right here. And this lifts out fairly easily. There we go. That and that and that. There we go. Okay. Other interesting thing about this gun here is this is the main hammer spring. It pushes, as you can see, the hammer right there presses down on it, but it's also held back by the top of this valve, or the piercing assembly here, which is a bit of an issue because you're putting a lot of stress on this. I've seen some instances where this part of the gun is cracked and basically, ended its life. But this one still seems good, and we'll go from there. What I do need to do is get this apart, and try to think what tool I used for that. And we'll replace this as well. You'll notice there's a little bit of blackening crud built up on the end of this brass tube here. And you can only conclude that that comes from the rubber seal degrading a bit with time. So yeah, bit of solvent on here. Lighter fluid. That should take it off. Right down, hopefully, to bare metal. Yeah, that should do it. And as I say, just a little dab of silicone lubricant on both sides, I think, should help preserve the seal. And where's my new parts? Here they are. Maybe a little tight. This revolver, I notice, has a bit of a hitch in its ratchet. Don't know why. The other one doesn't, so and they look identical and everything, so I can't quite figure out what causes that, but it doesn't stop it from working just fine. So the next trick will be to put in a cylinder, and hopefully it holds gas. Well, got one here, it's an oldie, and usually the rule is to put a bit of oil on the end of it, either silicone or Crosman used to recommend their own Pelgun oil, and that one seems to be seized up. This silicone-based oil, which is designed for air guns with seals and things like that, seems to work nicely. That's probably a little bit much for oil, but first time using it. Oil, I think, does two things. I think the main thing, it stops the cylinder from spinning around too much and drilling its way into the gasket. Okay. Well, that's not working at all. We have a leak coming out the barrel, which is odd because the last time this gun was shot, which wasn't that long ago, it leaked here and not elsewhere, so we have to find out what's going on there. So I tried soaking the valve in transmission leak repair. That didn't help. Then I took it all apart and replaced a O-ring or so in there, and no better. Okay, this should solve our problem. Ordered in a brand new valve assembly from Crosman. Finally arrived. It's a little different than the old one. I left this one out here, the various parts. Let's see, that's stuck in there because of this. Left that out. Still stuck. Okay, so here's the old valve assembly. You can see it's screwed in there like that. The new one, this one here, has a retaining clip and a fairly robust, looks like nylon type seal all the way around there. So hopefully it is a perfect drop-in fit. Looks to be exact same dimensions, no problem at all. After all, that's what they sell as a replacement part for this. I do need to fish out the quad seal because that's stuck in there. Do not want to damage this. Okay, seal goes in first. Probably need to punch it. Okay, so let's try this again. After a bit of diagnosing, I discovered that the valve assembly was not quite pushed into this plastic piece as far as it should have been, so it needs to align little keyways in the frame, and I guess it was just sticking out just a little bit. There we go. That should do it. Okay, so now all the pieces are back in place. All I can do is put the barrel back on. Okay, everything's back together now. All I need is a fresh CO2 cylinder. See if this works better this time round. There you go. Not a peep out of it. Does it go bang? Beautiful. Now I get to test it. Okay, I've got the chronograph all set up, and I'm going to start out with this one here with the 6-inch barrel. I've got 5 shots each. Got these, seems appropriate, Crosman dome pellets. Those are the ones that are made in Brazil, not the premiers. Okay, let's see what we can get. Missed the chronograph there. 169. 305. That seems better. 276. 170. Boy, it's varying a lot, isn't it? Let's try a couple more. Let's get the chronographs registered properly. And we're losing pressure, aren't we? 241. 208. Try one more. 190. Not great. Varying a lot. Might just be the new valve needs to bed in a bit. Needs a bit of exercise, perhaps. We'll see. Now let's try the one with the longer barrel. What they call the 8-inch barrel. That's a lot louder. 459. 469. 457. 425. 431. My gosh, that does make a huge difference, doesn't it? Don't think we can put that down to the barrel. I think this gun is probably, the valve and seals are working just a little bit better in that one. Just for fun though, let's rob it a bit of its power. Let's take this 8-inch barrel out. And put on this little dinky, what they call 4-inch barrel. It's a little hard to aim this one. Keep it straight across the chronograph sensors. Okay, 5 shots. Here we go. And that didn't register. Got a 0. 357. Ah, that's appropriate given the gun. 157. I'm not sure if that's correct. Didn't register. Didn't register anything. Let's try that again. 327. couple more here I can try before I'm out. .318. .325. Fascinating. Okay, so here's my conundrum. One of these guns performs decently well, fairly consistent across the chronograph, so getting decent gas flow through the valve and down the barrel, so no complaints there. This one is the one I've replaced all the pieces on it. New seals and a new valve, so why is it not working very well? We're getting velocities all over the place. Have some thoughts on that, and the only thing I can think of is either, although we've got leakage in the seals, not likely, the valve might be brand new and not broken in yet. Maybe it needs to be worked a bit more before it's opening and closing consistently. There could be loss of pressure somewhere after the valve. Don't think that's really the case, otherwise we'd be hearing probably a lot more. The low velocity shots would actually end up being louder, and they're not. They definitely seem to be quieter. So I think the logical thing, at least I hope this is what it is the hammer is not hitting the valve consistently. Maybe something is causing it to hang up a little as it's moving back and forth. I don't know. So what I'm going to do is take it apart and see if I can find anything that is rough or obstructing the mechanism. And even if I don't, I will clean and lubricate everything as best I can. So hopefully we'll see some better results. It's worth a shot anyway. Okay, so here it is, all back together again. Well, cleaned and smoothed everything out, new lubricants, everything there. Didn't find anything really obvious to say, aha, there's your problem. The only thing I did realize after I got the guns back together again, at least I shouldn't say realize, but after cocking and firing both these hammers, this one, on the gun that was more consistent, seemed to be just that little bit more forceful. This thing just seemed a little weaker. So what I did was, I installed just on top of the valve, not the valve, but the piercing assembly, I put a little shim on there to just increase the spring pressure on the hammer just a wee bit. Seems to feel a little more matched with the other one now. So let's see if that actually works. I'll pop in a fresh cylinder. Oh, forgot to lubricate it first. Should always do that. Okay, there's not even a hiss of that one. That's great. Sounds healthy enough. Let's put it across the chronograph, see what we get. Okay, let's give it a try at testing this Crosman 357 with the 6-inch barrel. Now that I've tweaked the valve, a little bit of cleaning and lubrication on it, even though it was brand new, and I've also increased the spring tension just a little bit, which I think should make things a bit more consistent. Trying the Crosman dome pellets again, across the chronograph. Let's see what we can get. .406. Didn't read. Gotta aim so carefully with these. Try that again. 400. 376. 378. That is a brand new cylinder, so it may be dropping just a little bit. But then again, with CO2 guns, the faster you shoot, the more things cool down, and the colder it is, the less pressure you get. One of the reasons it's difficult to use CO2 guns in competition. Although if you really take your time between shots, it's not much of a problem. The gun gets time to warm up again. Okay. Let's try a couple more since I got another cylinder here. .358. Yeah, definitely lower. .381. .347. Yeah. Definitely feel the grip getting cold, so. .372. .379. Empty. Okay. The good news there is this is definitely much improved over when I first put the new valve in. So yeah, let's take it to the range and see how what kind of accuracy we can get out of these guns. So here I am back at the range. First up for testing was the 8-inch version, the longer barrel. Sight picture proved to be pretty good, and the trigger pull wasn't bad either, so it wasn't too hard to be fairly confident I was getting about the best I could out of the gun. I used the dome pellets again and ended up with a 26mm group, which is just over an inch, just a tad over an inch, which I consider pretty good, better than I expected actually. Then I put the 6-inch barrel gun up for testing, which is the one that gave the most trouble with needing all those extra parts. Sight picture is a little tougher on this one. You notice the shorter sight radius, but yeah, not so bad. Probably could have raised the rear sight just a little bit to bring the center of the group back up to the middle of the bull, but maybe for another day. But at the moment, we've got a 43mm group, so a little bit larger than the 8-inch gun. Yeah, just under 2 inches. So what do I learn from all this? Despite the fact that I promised you that it would be a short video, ended up being a lot longer than expected. As you can imagine, there was hours and hours of fiddling and diagnosing and playing around with the parts to get them working again. But it does show that you can bring these things back from the dead and get them working again if you're willing to buy the parts. The parts aren't terribly expensive. It's usually the shipping that kind of kills you a bit, makes you wonder whether it's just makes more sense to just buy a whole new gun. But they have been fun. Got them back up to decent spec. There's no doubt they can slaughter pop cans at will, and fun is what it's all about. Anyway, thanks for watching. Kanakair will be back with some more fun projects, and consider subscribing.